What's up, Manifestation Queens? Today we've got Sophie from the Wine Opener in the Manifestation House.
Hi.
Okay, the number one question I have to ask everybody. You kind of answered me earlier on this one, but you can tell the audience, tell the Manifestation Queens. Are you a manifester?
I think I touched off it. I don't think I'm your typical advertised manifester.
Yeah.
However, do I see things that I want to achieve? Do I make goals? Do I make many steps to make those goals? Absolutely. So I don't know if I lean into, like, if someone asks me, are you a manifester? Like you just did, I'm like, am I a manifester? But when you break it down to what manifesting actually is, I think so.
Yeah, and I think people just get confused by the term. They're like, manifester, what? Like, the people think it's either you'll have a couple buckets, woo-woo, hippy-dippy sort of nonsense, and then other people are like, well, what does it really mean? It really means you could be another word for goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you're an entrepreneur, you're definitely a manifester.
Kind of have to be.
You kind of have to be, don't you?
Because you have these crazy dreams in your head that you're bringing to life. Like there's nobody else pushing it ahead except you. You're the motor.
You are. And like, so how did it start? How, because like lots of people, like I call myself the manifestation queen, but I also call myself the idea queen. Mm-hmm. Like I literally have an idea on a daily basis. Like I would say to my husband, I have this idea. And he's like, oh, not again. But like lots of people have ideas, but lots of ideas don't come into existence. So how did it start?
That's actually a great point. And I guess like I'd be around the dinner table, like we sit down for dinner most nights when I was with my parents, obviously. A few years on, I'm with my husband now, we're at home, but we still do similar things. It's our topic of conversation is new ideas and creativity at the dinner table. So we'd be sending like just putting ideas out there. And I guess it's the idea that never went away. Mm. And they say that if it just keeps niggling at you and then you can't stop thinking about it, you're like, right, I need to dive into this further. But I guess from a wine opener point of view, we were sitting down at the dinner table. It was during COVID. I had a corporate job in property, doing marketing, a good one, a secure one, all like the ticks of parents that, it was a good career. But I was just a bit bored and lacking that creative spark. So we were just sitting at the dinner table and Mammy is constantly asking either myself or my dad, we open a bottle of wine for dinner. And I was like, Mom, can you not open your own bottle of wine? Like, what's going on? And she was like, I can't. Her hands, she's really bad arthritis. Mm-hmm. Like her fingers are bending now at this stage, which I think like as Irish as a nation, arthritis is such a big issue. And I was like, right, okay. And then I went out to try see something on the market that she could use, and there wasn't anything that she could actually use and she found easy to use. And that's where the idea kind of sparked. And I said, look, let's dive into this. Like I've all this time on my hands. Let's look at a product she can use. So we kind of wrote a list of everything that we wanted in a product, reached out to manufacturers, got prototypes. Mom was the tester.
But you've just been like, I have an idea. This might work. Like, when did you say to yourself, no, like I'm at, like I said, like a lot of people have ideas, but is it the fact that it just didn't go away and you're like, I think I could do this?
Yeah, I think it kept, like we kept talking about it. I kept talking about it. And I guess it was at a stage where I did have this space in my life because we all slowed down. I don't think I would have gone in on the idea as strong if I was caught up in my corporate life and my like going out. I was like mid to late 20s, like it was so busy. My life was so busy. And I just said, look, this is going to be a fun idea. Like it didn't start out as a business idea. I didn't go, right, I'm going to create this product and it's going to be so successful and be retailed in Arnott's and Brown Thomas and all that good stuff. It was, let's just make a product. Let's do the branding. Let's let's make a fun thing to keep my brain like active.
I love that. That it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to have this product. It's going to make loads of sales. We're going to be in all these shops. That was me. I told you, like I told Sophie earlier, I was like, so yeah, I'm thinking about like a little bit of a rebrand of the business and different things like that. But I have a lot of stock. And she's like, how much stock did you buy on your first order? And I was like, 20,000 boxes. She was like, what? You bought 20,000 boxes. Folks, do not put in such a massive order. But I was delusional. Like I was telling you earlier, I was just like, people are gonna love this because it makes so much sense to me. Like, this is how you should manifest. And then I also thought, I want to create a product that's kind of affordable for everyone-ish, affordable-ish for everyone. So it's not a really high, even though the packaging is really nice. So I want to make it affordable. So I bought a massive amount of stock to keep the price down. Yeah. And now I need a storage unit for it.
Yes, so now it's racking up. The price is
And now the price is racking up because I pay €330 a month for a storage container in Dublin. And then the pressure comes of making sales. So you went out to manufacture. Did you get a couple of prototypes or?
5.
5.
Yeah, it proved a little bit more difficult. I thought we had our final prototype, and like I sent my mum down to my auntie's house. They opened a bottle of wine, and I get this call. I didn't explain anything to her because I want it to be like it's made for people that can't use a traditional corkscrew. And then it just transpired that a lot of people just can't open a bottle of wine either. But anyway, so I sent her down to my auntie's house to, I wouldn't say they'd read an instruction manual. If you paid them to read an instruction manual, they take it out of the box. And she rings me.
That's me. That's me too. Don't give me instructions. I'll figure it. I'll do it. And then I'll be like, how come? Well, like, yeah. So I think that's actually that's really smart. It's like because you need to know your customer as well. How are they going to use it?
I think we're pretty lucky that I had such a close to home product tester that I'm like, if she can't use it, this can't go to market. But she went down to my auntie's house. I get a call. There's an up and down button here, Sophie. Do we press it up to get? And I was like, you press the cork, like the button up to pull the cork out, the button down to get the cork out. Like, when out of the device. And she's like, oh, yeah.
We push the button.
She's like, yeah, I don't know what we did. I was So then the fifth time.
So what change did you have to make?
It's one button system. And that she'd press the button up, and then to get the cork out, you just twist your wrist. So it's nothing to do with your hand strength or whatever. It's your wrist. And it comes out.
So basically she was market, research on the fact that maybe you could confuse somebody on the buttons.
Yes. And I feel like if we can get like our demographics quite broad.
Yeah.
Because it's a gift. Like our main target market is the gift giver. And I'm like, if I'm buying this for my mom, I hope she's able to use it at home on her own. So I'm like, if she can use it, then everyone can use it, because maybe younger generations that are on social media, they're seeing our videos, they can see how to use it. But it's harder to get, like my mum, she won't like me for this. She's 65 and above, she's not as social media savvy. So I'm like, if she can find this easy and use it, then it's easy to use.
Yeah. And I think that makes so much sense, because you do have to think about, you said there, you have a broad target market, but a lot of the older generation, they're just not on social media looking at TikTok videos and Instagram videos. And they need to be able to use a product with that. Because I knew about the twist, because I've seen your videos, the twist of the hand.
Yeah.
And I would have known if I bought it, that's what I need to do. That's what I do with it. But somebody that buys it and is not on social media. So that's really, I think that's really good. Yeah. If you're not manifesting in 2025, then what are you doing? And for the love of the universe, will you take down your vision board? We know from neuroscience that you gotta write it to invite it. And that is why I created the Pause Penny Manifestation Box. 7 simple steps. Writing it down, visualization, and taking action, because we know action is key. And why should you listen to me? Well, you should listen to me because I've manifested it all. My soulmate, twins, dream job, dream houses, abundance. And I know that this is the right way. So you gotta write it to invite it. Pick up our bestseller manifestation box on pausepenny.com. So then where did it go from when you said, okay, this is our prototype. We now have a product. What was the next step?
And that was probably the step that was the will I, won't I?
Yeah.
Right there. Because, it is expensive to make prototypes, but in the grand scheme of things, you're just making small tweaks back and forth, back and forth. But you need to do your initial order, which has a minimum order quantity.
Yeah.
And that's where you're like, okay, is all my savings going into this? Like, do I really love this? Do I believe in this? Am I going to give this my entire energy? Because I was back to work then. Like, it was COVID had kind of gone away. I was back in the office 5 days a week. I was doing my commute like every other person out there. Life got busy very quickly. And that was when I was like, right, I don't want to sit in my office chair and go, what if only, what could have been. I'd rather go, oops, I messed up and I lost a few thousand. Do you know? I'd rather, like, if it was, say I had 5,000 to put into it that I had saved up, and I was like, right, like what I can get, like we can work around the 5,000, like you can come back from it. You have a career, you have job security. But I'm like, are you going to sit here in 5 years' time going, if only?
Because somebody else will have come up with and you'll be like, that was my idea. But it does take courage.
Mm-hmm.
It does take courage to like give up your money and your savings and be like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all into the unknown. Because it is unknown.
And it is. But then when you take a step back, you're like, okay, what are the variables here? I was very lucky. I was, what age? I'm 32 now. I was, say, 28. I had a good job. I knew if anything, like I still had my career. I had I had an apartment that I was living in with my other half, that we had the conversation, if I can't pay my rent, can you cover it? So I kind of looked at all those variables going, how bad can it get? And is it worth the jump in and go for it?
Yeah.
Because it's like probably everything was going in my way, but I see other entrepreneurs that they have families, they have huge mortgages, and that's a hard jump. It's not the same jump for everyone. Like everyone faces challenges, but it isn't, I didn't have at the time the massive bigger picture items. So I was like, it's now or never, really.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good point. Like everybody is in a different phase in their life, and people might say, why don't you just quit your job? Because people say to me all the time, are you always going to be a lawyer? And it's like, I have a husband to think about and 4 children.
Yeah.
And not everything moves overnight. Like you have to see, I've actually realized for my business, I've probably realized it's so much harder and grueling to make sales than I expected.
Because you believe in your product so much, but you need to communicate that to other people and get them to want to believe in your product. So you're just like, why isn't this selling? Like, come on, it's an amazing product. But it's hard to educate, it's hard to bring people in, especially in the climate that we're in. It's so busy, advertising's so busy, the cost to advertise is so busy. But yeah.
But when did you decide then that you were actually going to leave your job to do it?
We were about 6 months into it. And when did I decide? I'm trying to think back right at the moment. It was niggling away with me. I was like, right, I was sending orders in the evening. Mom and Dad were sending the orders for me. And it was at a stage where it wasn't massively lucrative. Like, it wasn't like I could just leave my job and I'd be like, right, I still have my salary coming in every month. Because for the first year or two, any profit you make, you're just plummeting back into the business. But I said, look, we're just going to give it a go. Like I said, I just tried to weigh up, what if it all goes right and what if it all goes wrong? And how bad can it get? And is it worth it to me to try, I guess. And I booked a pop-up in Dundrum for the Christmas.
That, first of all, folks, I looked at that, by the way, It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because you did an amazing TikTok on pop-ups. And back when I don't know what in the name of God I was thinking, but I was pregnant with twins. It was November of 2022 or say September leading into Christmas. So I would have been heavily pregnant with
I remember you
twins,
telling me
wanting
this.
to do a pop-up in Dundrum. And I was like, I really could see, manifestation boxes, gratitude boxes for Christmas. This could be amazing. But it would be me on my feet all day long. I was on maternity. I was going to be going into maternity leave because I was due to have them in the January. But then I also thought, hold on, you have a job, so you'll have to hire somebody. But then I found out that it was like 16,000 euro for 8 weeks. I don't know if that's the exact cost. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
And I just realized you're going to have to sell a shitload of manifestation boxes when, first of all, you're not known. So nobody knows who you are. Pause, Penny, Yvonne. That's number one. And number two, you have to hire people. So I just felt like, am I just going to lose about 20 grand here with getting this? Not only do you have the pop-up cost in Dundrum, you have to have a stand that has to be created by some sort of outfit. Then you have to pay somebody to be there. Then you have to make sure all the tech works and your payment card works. And then,
and your insurance, just add that.
You have to pay insurance?
You have public liability.
Oh my God. But does not Dundrum not cover that? No?
Well, I think they have their own, but you need to have your own public liability. Yeah.
What?
It's the same for all pop-ups. Like we're in Arnott's, we're in Prime Thomas. You need your insurance to cover your,
So that's like what, an extra grand or 1,500?
a little bit more. Yeah. It depends year on year and the amount of stuff. Like there's kind of different variables. Yeah. But yeah, it's an expensive activity. And I guess that's where it comes your naivety at the start. Like, I mean, not your naivety, my naivety at the start was like, we're just gonna make it happen. It's either gonna be sink or swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just said, like, let's just book it. We need to, if I'm going full time, it needs to hit the ground running. We need to make sales this year or I'm back working next year. Do you know, like for a new brand, an online brand, a not trusted brand at that time.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we had a store in Dundrum, people could come see the product. They could use the product. They could test the product. They could see the people behind the business. I was like, that's what we need, because the online space, it's so saturated with copycats, with bad products, with all those other things, that scams that people don't trust. So that was another thing. I was like, I need to build confidence in the product. That's why we picked to do a pop-up. And I think it was just pure naivety. I was like, I want to shop and this is going to work. And
did it work? Was it worth it?
Massively. The success of that pop-up is the reason why we're still here today.
Wow.
I just remember it was just crazy. We just shut down our online orders because I was so busy in store, because I was still shipping from home. But like you said, you're there. You're on that shop. I was on that shop 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. I did hire people, but I was like, I can't afford to bring everyone on.
And not only that, what I find is you are the best seller of your product. You are not going to let somebody walk by if they're looking in or hovering around. You're not going to just let them walk on by because you love the product and you know everything. Whereas somebody who's standing at your stall is not going to have that same love or passion for it. They're just not. So you feel like, I need to be there to get my customers.
Yeah. Like my mom and dad would come up some days, and so I could go on lunch and do things like that. And my dad was like, try wine opener. It was so cute. And we got such support that we were just so busy.
Did you have to, though, right before that, think, okay, I'm going to need an extra up level of stock, which is a more cost of money. I'm going to need more money to pay for the stand. Yeah. Like when all these costs when you started to look at all these costs, did you have any moment of like, oh, holy shit?
Yeah. 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 And it's kind of like, every week to week. You're like, how am I paying this bill? Or how long can I keep this? It's a 30-day invoice period, or, you know, and that's the reality of it when you're starting. But you have to be very cautious that you don't get too out of your depth, because cash flow can kill your business. It can make your business and kill your business. We got so lucky that we went on the business show. Was it Taking Care Business on the RTE?
Okay.
Remember Ryan Tuberty used to do it. It's such a shame they don't do it anymore, because the impact it had on our business. And I know there was another business that I know of, Vico, the deodorant.
The deodorant, yeah.
They were on it too, and they said their sales after it were insane. We got invited into the audience. We had no.
Was that the Late Late Show?
Yeah.
Part of the Late Late Show that they do
on Irish businesses.
Yeah, it was once a year or something, wasn't it?
We were there last year, and I just don't know why they stopped it, because it's like we have so many amazing businesses in Ireland that they should be shouting about.
And I actually remember those shows, because I remember wanting to watch it to see what Irish businesses were on. So it's interesting to see what the rationale for not continuing that with, but it had a big impact on your business.
Massive. And that was a few weeks before our pop-up, and that's how we afforded it. Like, we got asked, Mam and I, we went to the audience, and at that stage we still weren't guaranteed it was going to be shown. I have never, like, it sounds like I sweated so much in an audience chair. I was like, oh my God, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?
Did you have to reach out to them to try and get on the show, or did they reach out to you?
I had manifesting it, maybe. It was a big goal. Like, I was like, I want to be on this show. We worked with a PR company, Conjure Communications. Anthony, he's the director there. He reached out to RTE and kind of didn't hear anything back until 24 hours before. And they're like, can you get your product into us?
I've heard they do that.
I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Drove right in. I was like, how much product do you want?
yeah.
Take anything. And still at that stage, they hadn't confirmed if it was going to be on. But I was like, they asked us to be in the audience. So I didn't even know what that means. I was like, are they going to put the camera? Just freaking out. But no confirmation it was going to be on. And I just remember we got such a good plug. Ryan had it on the table, using it. Showing people it, which is a big thing for us, because if you look at, you're just like, sometimes you're like, it's an electric wine opener. You're like, that's great. But when you see it in action, they're like, ooh. And do you have Shopify?
I'm WooCommerce.
Do you get the ping?
Yeah,
ping,
yeah.
We were in the audience and I was like on my phone. It was hooked. Mommy. Like, you could just see it all coming in. I've never gone so red with excitement. Do you know
how many guests sit here and they're like, ding, 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 ding on the Shopify? And that's actually what I kind of manifest. I don't have to talk about mine back. It's all back in WooCommerce, but I see new order. And that's actually what I manifest in my head. But that's amazing.
And it's true what they say. If anyone's listening that's like not like a customer that buys Irish, the smile you put on an Irish business owner's face when you put in that order, you might think they're a big business, but you're probably, like anyone you've spoken to, we still see those notifications. We still see sales every day, and you make our day. Like, the smile you put on our face when people purchase from Irish businesses is...
Oh, it's huge. They have no idea. Like I was telling you, we were talking earlier about my jewelry. This is Love Beth. And I messaged her on Instagram and I said, hey, I love your jewelry. Are you Irish? Are you an Irish business? And she said, yeah, I am. And I swear, I was like, yes, I'm so grateful that you're an Irish. And really, because I want to buy. When you're an entrepreneur, you actually, not like call myself an entrepreneur, but when you have a product, you actually realize how important it is to buy other Irish products. I literally do a dance when I see the orders come in. And
you could be having a bad day and that one order, and you're just like, I'm doing a good job. I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's that kind of...
But how do you keep that? How do you keep the vibes up when it's a bit slower? So you probably have your peak. What are your like peak seasons, low seasons?
Christmas is our biggest peak.
Yeah.
And because we're a gift giving company, Mother's Day would be our second. So that's in 3 weeks. And what we've built into our business plan is we want Mother's Day to be bigger than our Black Friday because it means so much to us. The product was based off my mum. We want all mums to be spoiled on Mother's Day, thought of Mother's Day, and treated to a gift that they will actually use and continue to use. So we've built, Mother's Day is after Christmas is quite a big time for us. And then we have
Yeah.
Father's Day. And then there's just gift giving, like birthdays, anniversaries. We offer engraving on our products too. So that's big. But when you say what you do in low times, like when sales are slower, and I think that's another challenge as you grow.
Mhm.
Because when it was just me, I only had to look after the business costs and my costs. But as you grow and you're trying to grow, I have a team, like a small team now. So that puts added pressure. But you do need to forecast that, say your Christmas sales are going to be big. You need to be like, right, I need to buffer that out for the year. It makes you plan more. But mentally, when it's slow, you kind of just need to if you're having a bad day, right, I'm having a bad day. It's not good. We're just going to let this ride out. We're going to go for a good night's sleep. We're going to get bright and early and put pen to paper and go, why is this happening? What can we do better? And just make actions.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're just, sometimes I feel in business with the product, it's just this constant hustle of sales, constantly needing to come up with a creative idea to make the sales until you absolutely, I don't know, go viral on TikTok or something. But like, it's this feeling of like, okay, how do I make the next sale? How do I make the next sale? What do I need to do to make, do you ever feel like that?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Like constantly my brain turns on. I could wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm not saying it's healthy, but my mind could be like, do, like spinning all through the ideas.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to have it like that. If you weren't thinking about your sales every day, or like if you didn't have that in you, what would be pushing your business ahead? Or what would be pushing those sales? If you just said, oh, they'll come in or they'll be fine, you get very secure, you just get plateau.
Yeah.
There'd be no pushing ahead. So I think it's part of the job. It mightn't be a nice part, but it's part of the job.
I feel like, though, I don't know if this happens for you, but it's like it becomes all consuming. Is your partner, your husband, does he sometimes say, Sophie, please, no more? I'd open her talk.
Yeah, yeah, especially at busy times. But sometimes I could be I don't speak out. It's in my head more.
Yeah.
Versus verbally. It's nearly
but you'll
a good
still
thing.
know. But you'll still know because you're kind of that quiet, not quiet, but you're thinking and you can't.
Yeah.
My husband will know. He'll look at me like, you're not listening to me because I have Yvonne, you're not listening. And I'm like, what did he say again? Like he's literally having an entire conversation with me. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to book that, do this, do that. And I'm like, yeah. Like pretending to have a conversation, but I'm not listening to what he's saying because I have 1 million things going on in my head.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That does happen. And I think it's probably allowing, like, there's going to be stages in the year that is going to happen.
Yeah.
And kind of acknowledging it. And with my husband, he knows at Christmas that he needs to step up on things that I would usually do. I just do not have the capability to do it all, especially in the house, what I'd usually do. I'm like, well, we need to outsource, or you need to step in. You just can't do everything.
Yeah.
And as you grow in the business, or you grow as a business person, it's about realizing that you can't do everything.
Yeah. And who's your first hire? What was your first hire?
My first hire was my retail people in Dundrum.
Yeah.
And then it's now transpired to a social media manager, because like 95%, no, sorry, that's wrong number. 90% of our sales are online.
Yeah. And do you find marketing, like how do you find marketing the product easy, hard? Like
my background's marketing.
Marketing, yeah.
So I love it. I probably lean into it probably a little too much. And
you did one recently that I loved. It was like an owl call.
That with Zoe. Yeah. For the end of dry January.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably put so much finance behind marketing because I believe in its powers so much that other parts need more attention. So that's something I need to keep my eye on. So that's why I did bring someone in on social media, because it was taking up so much of my time. However, the business needed it. And it allowed me look at product development and operations, because we grew very quickly, but the structure needs to be there, or your customer care is going to fall down. Your website's not able for it. Your bookkeeper. I got a bookkeeper. Best business decision I've ever made, because I don't love it. I really just don't love it. It scares me. It freaks me out. I just want someone to tell me what to do so I don't get in trouble. And that was a tick the box, and that took that off me. I think I lost my train of thought there.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I know
sorry.
what you mean. Bookkeeping, I just absolutely hate it. I hate the numbers, but you've got to know your numbers in the bit. You've got to have a sense of them, but it doesn't mean you need to do the books. Do you find, like, because we're becoming kind of, I think there's like some sort of analysis on Gen Z and that they're drinking less, and then we've got all this dry January. Do you find that impacts the business, or are you just saying, we all need to like have a bit of balance here, folks? We can have a glass of wine. You know, or 2 glasses of wine or whatever. Like, why do we have to be all or nothing? Maybe this is just my train of thought. But what are your thoughts around having an alcohol-based product?
I think we face challenges, especially for advertising.
Yeah.
They don't like to see wine or beers on Facebook ads or Instagram or TikTok. We're getting on board for TikTok Shop at the moment, and we can't advertise alcohol. So if we're doing a live, we're going to have to bring on non-alcoholic products.
Oh.
So so we face challenges like that, which can be frustrating, and especially for organic growth in social media, they just don't like alcoholic content.
But you have non-alcoholic wines and drinks that have corks, right?
Yeah, no, they do, but like,
people are buying it because they're having a glass of wine, and that's just the reality.
Exactly.
And have they explained why? Okay, I understand advertising, and you know, people don't want to be advertising alcohol all the time. But what about Coca-Cola? What about dairy milk bars? What about the fact that you go from Halloween eating shit candy into your box of roses at Christmas, into your Easter egg at Easter? It's not just alcohol. Like, you could look at this across every unhealthy, everything can be unhealthy if it's not in balance, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's just, I'm not going to give up chocolate.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I can kind of like, exactly that point, but I can see why there would be limitations on advertising too, because if you eat too much chocolate, I know it can be unhealthy, but if you drink too much wine and it becomes a problem, it's a little bit more serious. So I can understand.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think, but are they not allowing it in some sort of moderation on advertising? Or
no, they are. It's just, it's not as like organically, it's just not as easy to reach the views because it's getting flagged. So that is a challenge, but it's you just work with it. That's, that's going to happen, and you just try to do your best and work around it. And then in terms of the Gen Z and the people not drinking and things like that, that market's not really our market.
Yeah.
And I nearly think the people not going out anymore, or the big drinking culture, I think there's a lot more people coming back to sitting in the house and having a glass of wine. Yeah. So you can kind of get scared by the numbers that are being put out there, but it hasn't affected our sales, and I don't think it's affecting our demographic. We also brought out a wine keeper, which I can't keep. I've done 4 orders since before Christmas, and I cannot keep stocked. Basically, it kind of feeds into the drink responsibly aspect. Yeah. And when I was a corporate girly, working, doing the commute, trying to be in the gym every day, having a social life, but on a Tuesday, sometimes I want a glass of wine.
Yeah.
You just want your glass of wine. But when it came to Saturday night, that bottle of wine could be turned.
Yeah.
So the wine keeper, you put on top of your bottle of wine, it takes all the oxygen out and it stays fresh till Saturday. So it's feeding into, you can enjoy your 1 glass of wine. You don't need to drink a bottle.
Yeah, so you're creating more. I even see your kind of tumblers, and you have a coffee
cup, leak proof.
Yeah, leak proof. I know some of those covers on those coffee cups are a disaster, aren't they?
Did you see the McDonald's ones?
No, I've never seen those.
They're compostable now. So it's like your straw, when you get like a drink, and I can we're not going after, don't come at me with the straw army. But when you have a paper straw and you're just trying to drink your drink, and it's like mush in your mouth.
And I saw something online. Was it on your page actually educating people on compostable, like the covers of cups.
That was the McDonald's one.
But are they bringing that in? Because I went Google then. I was like, are they? Because I really love my takeaway coffee cup, but I do realize that it's not good for the environment. Like you really should have a keep cup.
Yeah.
And I do have a keep cup in the morning. But I think on your thing, it was talking about the covers, and they're going to be bringing them in, that they have to be paper.
I think it's part of a wider plan and wider EU plan of the sustainability goals around that side of things. So they are trying to, I think, I don't know it fully in depth, but I'm pretty sure they're trying to encourage that, you know, when you go into shops and you buy a cup and then you go back and they'll give you a discount off your coffee or every time you use it. That's what they're trying to push towards. They don't want single use coffee cups.
Yeah, which makes, I can understand that.
But sometimes you just don't have your keep cup. Like sometimes you need your midday coffee and you don't have your keep cup. But look, we've brought out a coffee cup. It's leak proof. Keeps your coffee warm. Because do you ever have, like, even the keep cups out there, you try drink it and it spills down your top?
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to work and you're like, well,
or it doesn't fit in your car.
Yeah.
The big thing I think with those the coffee cup holders are, they're made for American cars. So the base is massive and they don't fit into our car holders. That's another. So you've got a good few products out now.
Our first coffee tumbler didn't fit into, like, it fitted into the car I tried it fitted into. But that's another thing. I didn't try to fit into more cars than just one, like something to learn. Yeah. And like you said, it was off the American size coffee cups. The coffee cup holders. And I learned that through customer feedback. Like, they're like, it doesn't fit in my car. And I'm like,
and what do you do then?
We changed all our sizing. So we have 3 size cups. We have the small, the medium that's here, and the large. And we resize them to fit in cars.
But the people that already have them, are you just like, sorry?
Well, we never we didn't advertise that it fitted in cars. I wanted it to fit in cars. I know,
but you're cringing, like going, oh, fuck, why didn't I check the other cars? But these are the little mistakes that we make in business. Yeah. Like buying 20,000 boxes before you even launch, like I did, you know?
Yeah, but at least yours, they're like you didn't face any massive issues with them, like your product's still perfect.
It is, but you know what? I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made on it was on the front of my boxes. They say 7 cards, 7 days, 7 minutes. And I look back and it makes sense. 777. Yeah. It's got, which means, I didn't know this at the time, but I Google everything. It means you're on the right path, right? Spiritually, manifestation, right? And it relates to my daughter, the daughter after I had a loss, being born, and just the timing of it, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the biggest mistakes that I made with the branding part of it is when somebody shows that up on Instagram, it says 7 cards, 7 days. Nobody knows what the hell it is. It should say manifest. Gotcha. Right? So now I have 20,000 boxes. Well, I have less. I've sold some. I've been selling them, right? But I have all these boxes and it really should just say manifest. And then people are like, oh, what's that manifest box? Not what's a 777 card, 7 days, 7 minutes all about. So you make all these mistakes.
Yeah, you just make you make mistakes and you have to change through them. Our first box I designed on Canva.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, please God, work. Just please. When you get your sample and you're like, okay, worked. But we've grown since then and changed. And now we're actually repackaging our boxes at the moment to be more in line for retail, because as I've been on the stands, on the pop-ups, I've been able to talk to customers, and I was just like, why am I having to explain this product so much over and over and over and over and over again? It's because I haven't given the customer the information they need on the box or the visuals they need on the box. And I'm not sure about you, it's when you go into like a boutique, like a smaller shop, and the sales assistant comes over and they're like, hey, can I help you? You're like, I'm fine. It's like an Irish thing we don't want to be sold to. So
yeah,
I'm adding the how-tos, the key points, just we're upgrading it for retail positioning.
Yeah, and I was told that. So I got from the local enterprise office when I started my business, they gave me a kind of a branding kind of expert. And my boxes had been created and everything, and they went out to we went out and we did market research, and people were like, I love the box, I love the feel, I love what it did. It was really great. But they said, But if I went into a shop, I would have no idea what this is because the front of it says 7 cards and the back of it says like pause penny,
Yeah.
right? So I had to get these sleeves made
Oh,
to go over the box.
perfect. Yeah.
You think it was perfect, but
No.
those sleeves are the most painful things to put on the boxes. And
They're so
they're
tight.
10 cents a sleeve and you break 3 of them for every 10 you put on.
Because they're so rigid to get on the
They're
box.
so hard to get on the box. So it's a real thing of like, if you're creating a product, make sure when somebody picks it up, they know exactly. And the lady that was doing the branding test with me said, you need the grandmother test. And I was like, what's the grandmother test? And she said, if a granny picks up your box, is she going to know what it is? But, you know, I was so, I guess, naive and new to business. And I was like, it doesn't matter. People are going to find, like, it's going to.
I love it. And of course it's going to work. And you know your product. And I think we all fall into that. I'd be very surprised to meet a business owner that hasn't changed their box from the start because they've learned. Like you just learn and you have to grow. And I think we've all made those mistakes.
Yeah.
But at least you were able to, you know, get the sleeve and fix the issue, even though it's not, but like if it was a issue for people reading it in store, you have the solution. It wasn't like I need to throw away all these products.
Yeah. Yeah. What's next?
What's next?
Will you do the pop-ups again this year?
Christmas. Yeah.
So we'll see you in Dundrum.
You'll see us in Dundrum. You'll see us in another location.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at hopefully onboarding with a really big retailer in Ireland. So hopefully we're in talks at the moment. So hopefully that comes true. That is one of my that is a manifestation that I've put out there for the last 2 years that I want to be in this store. I can see the product in store.
Yeah.
So hopefully that comes through, and then we're hoping to break into the UK slowly but surely.
Yeah.
They're kind of our 2 big focus, expanding our retail, because like I said, we have an older demographic that aren't as confident shopping online, so we need to get it in front of them in a different way that they can go touch and feel the product, but we can't roll out 10 pop-ups across the country. So we need to work with retailers and partnerships to be able to get that product in front of people.
And do you ever find your product in really, you know, restaurants and stuff? Because I worked in a restaurant for years and the amount of bottles, expensive bottles of corks I broke was amazing. You know, when you have those corkscrew, the cork breaks in half and then you're trying to get the cork out of the bottle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it's a path that we go down because it's a big overhead to restaurants. And sure, you've seen their figures at the moment. It's hard work being in a restaurant business, and a lot of waiters and bartenders and waitresses, they keep their corkscrew in their kind of apron or their pocket. Ours would be a bit big. So I don't think there's space. It's not an avenue I'd really go down that I'd be confident to go down in.
Yeah.
Maybe our pop stop for afternoon teas, keeping the Prosecco and the champagne fresh.
Yeah.
That could be something we could explore. I'd love to maybe look at a lovely hotel collaboration. It's on a list that hasn't been actioned, but maybe that's something if we were going down that route.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, any hotel wants to collaborate.
Yeah. I understand what you mean about like the restaurants, because the reality is you have to. It has to make strategic business sense, and like some restaurants, a lot of restaurants, some of them are closing down. It's just businesses. It's harder.
It's hard for them at the moment. Like business is hard in Ireland at the moment.
Do you know what I find the hardest part of business? VAT at 23%.
Don't get me started. I just think it's very. I think. Oh God, the taxing system in Ireland it's difficult. It is difficult. You get every sale that we make, we get import tax. You have to remember that when the product comes in. Now I know. Then you get VAT tax on all your sales, 23%. So if your product's €100, 23 of that is not going to you, to me, to anything. It's unfair on the customer, I think, as well, that they have to pay that €23. Then that's all well and good. Then you get in your bank account. Then you have, if you need to pay yourself, you have your income tax. And then if you make any profit at the end of the year, you have corporation tax.
I know.
Do you know, so it's constant.
It is constant. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's really, I think one of the biggest challenges, we do have a good corporation tax rate in Ireland, but even for your employees, like if you hiring people, paying them, it all adds up. And it's really challenging for smaller businesses to
Yeah.
try and grow because you've got all these costs that the customer doesn't see.
Yeah, it would be an amazing initiative if they said for the first 5 years of a business, if you don't reach a certain turnover, because like bigger businesses, they're able to work with the 23% and the
Yeah.
other ones. But wouldn't it be a lovely initiative if the government said for the first 5 years of business, you get a reduced tax rate until you reach X amount of turnover?
Yeah.
And it just gives a new business a chance to thrive.
And that's all that people really need. And I remember the local enterprise office reached out to me for some feedback on what we can do for small businesses. I was like, there's lots of things you can do. Can you help us with storage costs? Okay, so maybe for a couple of years, we don't have to pay storage costs. Just help us get on our feet. Number 2, can you reduce our tax rates? Number 3, can you get us an office space? Like, can you do these? Number 4, the biggest thing, postage. Is there any sort of help
postage?
And these are the little things that are actually could be so helpful for a small business trying to, like you said, base it off of turnover of like, once you get to a certain point, but there's so many businesses that are just trying to get themselves off the ground.
Or give a tax deduction if you're for employees.
Yeah.
So you can hire more people if that's given the current climate that they want more people building careers and working. Then why don't you give the new companies the ability to hire teams? That could be another thing they could look into.
Yeah.
But it's just very hard to be held in the same sphere as these major businesses in Ireland. As a small business owner, when you're trying to figure it out, there's no kind of cushion for you.
No, there's none. And I think that is one of the hardest things. I'm like, I do my VAT return, every 2 months, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Another,
And my dad's like, well, you just can't think that, like, you just need to discount, like, the 23%, like, Sophie, that's never yours. And I'm like, it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
I paid these sales. Oh, shit. I now have to pay 23% on them.
And I had never an idea what, that was a big learning point coming off being an employee.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about all that.
No.
I didn't care what VAT was. It was just a given, like, a product cost me that. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And then when you have your own business and you're selling products, it's like, whoa.
Or you have your own business and you've got employees and you're like, holy shit, they've got to pay me. Like, if you have employees now, I've even just this year alone, right? Our sick leave has gone up to 7 days. Now that can be unpaid by the employer and it's paid by the government, but that's still 7 days off work for an employee. And that's hard. Like, that's hard. All these little things for smaller businesses.
Yeah.
If you're running a restaurant, if you're running a shop, if you're running a small business, you've your 20 days annual leave, then you've your 7 days sick day, then you have your public holidays and tax on top of that. So it's challenging it's almost easier to be an employee, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
But I'm not convincing you to go back to your job and sit in corporate life, because there's pros and cons to everything. But I do think people glamorize being an entrepreneur. They're like, oh, it's great. You have your own time to do everything you want yourself. You've got your own schedule. Yes, you do. But it's a different kind of pressure, right?
A totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, if you asked me if I would go back. No.
There's
I've never
no
been
way.
so excited, so energetic, so motivated in my life. Even though there are days, there are lows, I just couldn't imagine sitting down at a desk and just feeling a bit drained and feeling like your opinion doesn't matter or your ideas aren't being listened to. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, so no regrets.
No regrets. No regrets. I think being an employee is a tough job. There's so many different sides to things. And it's to try when you're employed, it's to try see both sides, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But if you have, like you said, if you have an idea, you're getting the whispers, it's not going away. It keeps coming back to you. And you just know there's something more. You've got to go for it.
Go for it. Calculate it. Write it down. Pros, cons. What's the worst that can happen? Can I get through the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And if you can, jump, leap, go for it.
Yeah, you never know what's on the other side.
Never know.
I'll pop up in Dundrum and Arnott's and all these retail stores.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I think it's going to get even busier, which I'm so excited for.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the wine opener, folks. It's we'll probably be past Mother's Day when this comes out, but get your gifts. Get your gifts. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Yvonne.